Hey everyone, welcome back. I hope you're all doing amazing today. My name is Steve, and we're diving into some incredible real-life stories that you absolutely won't believe. Please like this video and listen to my story till the end, and let me know which city you're listening from. That way, I can see how far my story has traveled. All right, let's jump right in. So our first story comes from someone we'll call Maya, a 23-year-old woman dating a guy named James who's 24. They've been together for 10 months, and James recently suggested they move in together. Sounds sweet, right? Well, hold on. James still lives at home with his parents and 3 younger brothers. And here's where it gets interesting. Maya has visited his house multiple times, and what she's witnessed is honestly mind-blowing. James's mother does absolutely everything for the 5 men in that household. Cooking, cleaning, laundry, you name it. The guys literally just put away their already washed, dried, ironed, and folded clothes. That's it. Now, the parents had this agreement where the dad works and pays all the bills while the mom runs the household completely. Because of this arrangement, the sons were never taught to help around the house. The mother insisted it was her responsibility. The result? James can't do anything. And I mean anything. He genuinely told Maya, with complete sincerity, that he doesn't even know how to fry an egg. She actually checked with his mother to confirm this wasn't some kind of joke. It wasn't. So when James suggested moving in together, Maya had some serious concerns. She told him she wanted him to live alone first, to learn basic life skills before they took that step. His response? He offered to pay 75% of the rent if she would do all the housework. Can you believe that? Maya shut that down immediately. She told him, "I want to be your girlfriend, not your mother or your maid." She explained that she needed him to move from his parents' house into his own place, figure out how to take care of himself, learn some essential life skills, and then they could revisit the idea of living together. Well, this triggered the biggest argument they'd ever had. James took her comments about his lack of life skills as a personal attack, which, okay, maybe it stung a little, but come on. He got upset that she was pushing back the timeline and only promised they'd revisit things after he'd lived alone for a few months. And here's the kicker. After that conversation, James completely stopped talking to her. Like full silent treatment. He went back to his mom's house, and even though he was online and responding to their mutual friends, he wouldn't answer any of Maya's calls or texts. And you know what he did next? He told all their friends his version of what happened, and now they're all siding with him, telling Maya she was mean and cruel. Can you imagine? Maya genuinely loves this guy and wants to eventually live with him. She just doesn't want to become his unpaid housekeeper. And honestly, who would? The one thing she absolutely didn't want was for him to pay extra rent in exchange for her doing everything. So she's asking, is there some kind of compromise she's missing? What should she do to fix this? Okay, let me tell you, I see nothing but red flags here. Huge, waving, crimson banners everywhere. If I were in Maya's position, I'd be concerned too. The fact that a grown man can't fry an egg is one thing. Sure, we all start somewhere, but that counteroffer really said everything. I'll pay more rent if you do all the work. Translation: I don't want to learn, I just want to replace my mom with someone who also has other benefits, if you know what I mean. And after all this, instead of having an adult conversation, James threw a complete tantrum, gave Maya the silent treatment, and then weaponized their friend group against her. That right there tells me he's not mature enough to have an honest discussion about life skills, so he got his friends to pressure her instead. Maya asked what compromise was available. Well, she already offered the compromise. Let him live alone, let him develop some basic adulting abilities, and then revisit the situation. But he's already made it crystal clear he doesn't want that. But wait until you hear what people in the comments discovered about James's past. And trust me, it gets even more revealing about why he is the way he is. So the comments section absolutely exploded on this story. One person pointed out something brilliant. If he's insulted that you said he has no life skills, then he should go get some. How is he not wildly embarrassed to be 24 years old and not doing his own laundry? And Maya responded with something that made my jaw drop. When James was 17 and there was a possibility of him going away to university, he actually asked his mother to teach him the basics. You know what she said? She refused. She told him that doing those things was her job, not his. So yeah, The parents aren't exactly blameless here. But here's what really got me. Whenever Maya asks James how he can't do something basic, he just shrugs and says, "No one ever taught me." And if she suggests he should have learned on his own or looked up a tutorial online, he accuses her of attacking him. He says not everyone had to be self-sufficient as kids the way she did. Now, Maya had the complete opposite upbringing. She basically took care of her own mother from a young age, so she learned all these skills out of necessity. Someone in the comments responded perfectly, "Yeah, but he's not a kid anymore. He didn't learn when he was 17, but that's not an excuse for remaining clueless 7 years later. Please see this for the red flag it is." Maya agreed, saying Google is free, and some stuff he claims he can't do, like loading the dishwasher, is just inexcusable. But he takes it as me attacking him. She admitted she knows it's a red flag, and she doesn't want to fall into that trap of thinking she can change him because she knows that never works. But she said it was the only issue she had with him. Oh, but then someone dropped this truth bomb that gave me chills. It's the only issue you have with him because you haven't been together long enough to see where else this entitled behavior leaks out. Think about it. If they stay together and have kids, he won't know how to change diapers or soothe a crying baby at 3 in the morning. If his parents get sick, he won't know how to talk to their doctors or organize paperwork. If they buy a house, he'll never know how to fix anything or get quotes from contractors or handle taxes. The question was simple. Do you want to be a single mom to your boyfriend? Wow, that really puts things in perspective, doesn't it? Another commenter pointed out something I found hilarious. They said frying an egg and putting clothes in a washing machine isn't rocket science. And someone replied with the most brilliant observation ever. They said, "What gets me is that James is literally working toward his PhD in a science subject. He understands actual rocket science, but claims he can't fry an egg. Can we just sit with that for a moment? This man can comprehend complex scientific theories, but can't figure out how to crack an egg into a pan. Ha, come on. Someone else nailed it. It's not that he can't. He chooses not to. He could easily look it up online if it's so complicated, but he hasn't. He literally does not want to learn." And then this gem appeared in the comments. "Well, I may not understand rocket science, but I can definitely fry an egg." Tempting offer, huh, Maya? Maya's response was perfect. I mean, rocket science can bring home the bacon, but that's no good if you can't actually cook it. Ha ha ha. I love her sense of humor. But seriously, let's do some math here. One commenter broke down the financial aspect. They said, let's say rent is around $1,300. This guy thought he could pay $325 each month for the luxury of having a full-time maid who does all the cooking, cleaning, laundry, and home management. That's actually hilarious. Maya clarified that her rent is actually £600, so James will be paying about £150 extra. Someone responded in disbelief. So he was going to pay you £150 to essentially be his full-time maid and chef. £150 a month to do all the cooking, cleaning, and household management for 2 people? That's not even minimum wage if you calculate the hours. But things took an interesting turn when Maya started noticing other peculiar things about James's behavior, things she'd never paid attention to before. Someone asked Maya 2 crucial questions. Do you want to have the same dynamic as his parents? Do you like their agreement for yourself? Maya's answer was a clear no to both. She explained that she's in her first year of her career, and it's already proven to be incredibly high stress. It's not going to get any easier. While paying less in expenses would relieve some financial pressure, she simply couldn't handle working a full day, coming home exhausted, and then doing all the household chores. She wanted to split everything 50-50, both expenses and housework, rather than having all the domestic work dumped on her. One person made such a good point. The internet has been around his entire life, but he didn't have the initiative to look things up himself. I would have been excited about the prospect of living alone. Sounds like he's just lazy. If you want to pick up after a man-child, go for it, but it looks like he's not learning basic life skills anytime soon. 24 years old and can't do laundry? How does he even tie his shoelaces? And oh my goodness, Maya's response to this had me dying. She said, "I know this is meant to be a joke, but I just realized he actually never unties his shoes. It just hit me that I've never seen him tie them. They have laces that are already tied, but I've only seen him step in and step out without ever tying or untying them. I swear he's 24, not 4. Ha ha ha. This is the kind of detail that just makes you shake your head in disbelief. The comments kept coming. People told Maya she needed a better boyfriend, and if her friend were siding with James, she needed better friends too. Maya explained that she'd moved to this city a few years ago and met James at university when she was 18 and he was 19. They'd been friends for years before dating. Her friend group and his friend group had basically merged into one large circle at some point, and honestly, they were all she had. Someone suggested she tell her friend her side of the story because James might have twisted the details to make himself look more sympathetic. Had she done that? Maya said yes. She had told them everything. Their response? They said she knew what she was signing up for. And then they turned the conversation back to the laundry situation, as if that somehow made everything okay. One commenter asked, "What basics does he need explained for laundry?" Maya replied that James claimed he couldn't work the buttons and didn't know where to put things. But it was just laundry gel that you put in with the clothes, and there's literally an on button, an off button, and a start button. It really shouldn't have been that complicated. At this point, I was just shaking my head. This is beyond ridiculous. And then Maya came back with an update that changed everything. James finally called her and agreed to talk. But instead of taking responsibility or showing any willingness to grow, he basically said he was never going to be willing to learn how to do anything around the house. He even suggested dividing up the chores so that Maya would do her half, and he would hire a maid to do his half. Let that sink in for a second. He'd rather pay a stranger to do his portion of basic household tasks than learn how to do them himself. Suffice to say, this was the final straw for Maya. By the end of that conversation, they broke up. Good for her. Seriously, good for her. People in the comments had some really interesting theories about what was really going on with James and his family dynamics. And honestly, some of these observations are pretty eye-opening. The comment section was incredibly supportive of Maya's decision. One person said the update sounded like it was for the best and praised her for being very mature in how she handled everything. But they were curious about whether there was any cultural or religious aspect at play here. Maya clarified that nope, there wasn't. They came from different cultural backgrounds, and she checked. Neither of the cultures James was associated with had this kind of dynamic as a typical way of life. This was just how his specific family operated. Someone else made a brilliant observation. It sounds like he feels these tasks are beneath him, and his parents taught him that by never requiring him to do chores. Wow, what is this, the 1950s? How did you even date him? Maya admitted they were friends first, and she didn't find out about this situation until a few months into the relationship. Lesson learned, she said. The responses kept pouring in. One person said, "That's just sad. Good on you for breaking up with him." Honestly, I blame not just him but his parents too. They've raised a household full of boys who have zero skills to do anything around the home, and eventually that's going to come back to haunt them. Maya responded with something really insightful. She said, "How does he think this would work if he lived alone for a little while? He'd have to figure this stuff out for himself without his parents stepping in. Same for his brothers. But it looks like he's just going to go from his actual mother's house to living with a girlfriend or wife who's willing to be his mother. And that's exactly it, isn't it? That's the pattern he's looking for. He doesn't want a partner. He wants someone to take care of him the way his mother always has." I can't help but think about what this guy's future looks like if he does manage to find a partner who'll put up with this behavior. What kind of relationship is that? What kind of life is that? Tell me in the comments. And if you've dealt with something similar, share your story. You're not alone. Subscribe for more stories about standing your ground and reclaiming your life. Because honestly, Maya dodged a massive bullet here. Could you imagine spending the rest of your life picking up after someone who won't even try to learn? Who gets defensive when you suggest maybe, just maybe, he should know how to operate a washing machine? The entitlement is just staggering. And the fact that his solution was to hire a maid to do his share rather than learn basic life skills tells you everything you need to know about his character. This isn't about not knowing how to do something. Everyone has to learn at some point. This is about refusing to learn, refusing to grow, refusing to take responsibility for yourself as an adult. That's what makes this situation so frustrating. And you know what really gets me? The friends. The fact that their mutual friends sided with James without even considering Maya's perspective shows they're not really her friends at all. True friends would understand why she'd be uncomfortable essentially becoming an unpaid domestic worker for someone who's perfectly capable of learning these skills but chooses not to. But you know what? This story had me thinking about independence and relationships and what we're willing to accept from our partners. And speaking of unusual living situations, wait until you hear about our next story involving a college dorm, an unexpected house guest, and a situation that spiraled completely out of control. So this next story comes from a college student we'll call Rachel, and honestly, this situation is absolutely wild. Rachel lives in an on-campus apartment-style dorm with 3 other girls. They each have their own bedrooms. There are 2 bathrooms, and Rachel shares a kitchen and living space with one of her roommates, a girl we'll call Emma, who's an international student. Over the summer, all the roommates had a group chat where they barely communicated, but it was there as a means to stay in touch, just in case anyone needed anything. Last Saturday, Rachel moved in and opened the dorm door for the first time. She immediately noticed Emma and her mom cooking in the kitchen. Rachel introduced herself politely, then continued bringing her stuff in from the car and to getting settled. She noticed Emma's mom was wearing pajama bottoms, but didn't think much of it first. These days, people wear loungewear everywhere like it's the new normal, right? Now, Rachel doesn't have a meal plan and wants to avoid spending money on takeout. So during move-in day, she bought a decent amount of groceries to cook her own meals. One of the other roommates had also moved in but only took up 1 cabinet space. When Rachel opened the other cabinets, nearly all of them were completely filled with Emma's stuff. Emma's mom noticed Rachel looking annoyed, so she shifted some of her daughter's things into other cabinets to make room. The refrigerator was also absolutely jam-packed with Emma's food. Rachel was confused because surely if someone had that much food, they wouldn't also have a meal plan, right? So out of curiosity, she asked. To her surprise, Emma did have a meal plan and said she basically lives in the dining hall. Then Rachel went to open the pantry closet. It was filled with Emma's messenger bags and shoes. Yes, shoes in the pantry. After Rachel moved her suitcases in and found whatever little spaces she could for her food, she went to sleep. She'd been up super early doing last-minute shopping and packing, so she was exhausted. The next morning, Sunday, Rachel woke up and saw Emma's mom making a cup of tea in the kitchen. She was confused about why Emma's mom hadn't gone to a hotel or flown back to her home country. She figured the mom would have left by Sunday since classes started Monday. But here's where it gets absolutely insane. Fast forward to a full week later, and Emma's mom is still living with them. She eats there, cooks there, showers there, sleeps there. Whenever Rachel comes back from class to make herself something to eat, Emma's mom emerges from their room asking if she can cook Rachel's food for her. And here's the thing that really bothered Rachel. Emma never thought it was important to tell anyone. She didn't say a single word about her mom living with them in the dorm. Now, here's why Rachel was so conflicted about what to do. Emma's mom is actually very nice. She cleans the common areas, sometimes even washes Rachel's dishes. She offers them the food she cooks and is generally a pleasant person overall. However, there were these constant little annoyances building up. The mom was cooking for hours every single day. We're talking from 9 in the morning until 10 at night, just constantly in the kitchen. She was hogging up all the fridge space. In fact, she just did another massive shopping trip, and Rachel's food got buried in the back, making it impossible for Rachel to cook alone. Rachel personally hates having other people in the kitchen when she's trying to cook, and most importantly, Emma never verified with any of them that they were okay with her mom staying there. But here's where Rachel's internal conflict really came in. She remembered Emma's mom mentioning how expensive groceries were for her, which made Rachel wonder if maybe she couldn't afford a hotel room. If Rachel told a resident advisor about this, the mom would be kicked out immediately and might end up on the streets because of her. Having a parent stay in the dorm obviously isn't allowed. Rachel's other roommates seemed fine with the mom being there, so Rachel didn't want to be the only one complaining. But if she told an RA, the mom would be gone right away, and there would be tension in the air for the rest of the year. Rachel was genuinely torn. She didn't know what to do. The comments section had some really practical advice. One person asked, Have you talked to Emma about what's going on with her mom? It's absolutely crazy to move your mom into your dorm and think you don't need to discuss it with your roommates first. Has nobody else in the dorms noticed her going in and out with groceries? How does she even get in and out? Aren't your dorms secure? Rachel explained that whenever there's a big grocery delivery, the other girls happen to be in their rooms, and they probably don't care about the fridge situation since Rachel never sees them cook. They're extremely laid back and chill about everything. As for other students seeing Emma's mom move in all those groceries, they probably don't think much of it since parents drop off groceries for their students all the time. Rachel's parents do the same thing on weekends sometimes. But maybe other students do think it's weird that Emma's mom is doing massive grocery runs on a Monday or Tuesday instead of on weekends when most parents are available. How does the mom get in and out? Well, she doesn't leave the dorm until Emma returns. During weekdays, she's literally there all day. If she needs to go out to get something like water, she props the door open. One commenter asked a really interesting question. Are you sure that's her mother and not an aunt or some kind of caretaker who traveled with Emma to take care of her as an international student? Either way, she shouldn't be there, and Emma should be more mindful of your needs. Rachel confirmed it was definitely her mom. The commenter continued, have you tried talking to your other roommate and Emma about why her mom is there? Try to find out the reason first. If you report her and she gets kicked out and has to go into a dangerous situation and Emma loses her mom because you told, like if there's domestic violence involved, you wouldn't forgive yourself. So try having a conversation first. If you don't agree with the answer you receive, then report it after you've thought about it. Good luck. Rachel responded with something really important. She said, okay, I understand where you're coming from, but a bit too much blame is being placed on me. It all stems from Emma not thinking it would be smart to inform us that her mom would be living with us. None of this is my responsibility, but I will have a conversation first. And you know what? Rachel's absolutely right. The situation exists because Emma created it without anyone's consent or knowledge. Look, Emma's mom sounds lovely. She's cleaning, cooking, being generally kind and helpful. But she's basically become the fifth roommate without anyone getting a vote on it. And being nice doesn't give you squatting rights, you know? The mom could be absolutely perfect in every possible way, but it still doesn't give Emma the right to move her into shared student housing without telling anyone. You've got someone there who's not supposed to be there, taking up space, dominating the kitchen for 13 hours a day, and making it impossible for Rachel to just exist normally in her own living space that she's paying for. That's absolutely wild. And the fact that Emma didn't even mention this in the group chat over the summer tells you everything you need to know. She knew it was wrong, so she went with the easier to ask for forgiveness than permission route. Except she didn't even ask for forgiveness. She just hoped everyone would be too polite to say anything. And honestly, that's exactly what was happening. Everyone was being too uncomfortable to speak up. You can talk to Emma first and find out if there's some kind of genuine emergency happening. But even if there is, that still doesn't make it right to move someone into shared housing without telling your roommates. And if the conversation goes nowhere, you escalate it to the RA. Simple as that. Rachel isn't putting anyone on the streets. Emma and her mom chose to put themselves in this position by breaking the rules. That's on them, not on Rachel. She's not a bad person for wanting to live in the accommodation she's actually paying for. But Rachel did come back with an update, and wow, it's a ride. She wrote this note saying she originally posted back in late September, and now it's 4 months later. She thought the situation would be fine, but it definitely wasn't. Each day, Rachel realized more and more how little respect and consideration Emma and her mom had for Rachel and the other two roommates. Some things really pushed Rachel to make a final decision. First, there was the brother situation. Rachel wasn't sure if she mentioned this in her original post, but Emma also has a brother who goes to college in the same state, but in a city roughly an hour and 30 minutes away. They would bring him over completely unannounced. And when he was there, you knew he was there because of his loud, deep voice echoing through the apartment. One Sunday morning at 9 o'clock, Rachel was jolted awake from a deep sleep by the sound of his booming voice as he walked through the door. This was extremely frustrating because on weekends, Rachel likes to sleep in since she has 8 o'clock classes throughout the entire week. That was one of the moments where Rachel thought, yeah, no, this is not okay. First of all, you don't say anything or even text anybody that this man is going to be coming over and can basically show up at any random time, which was personally very uncomfortable for Rachel. The next issue was the refrigerator situation, which kept getting worse. Emma's mom had a serious shopping problem. Rachel thinks this was rooted in the fact that the mom was probably bored staying in the dorm all day with nothing to do. She continued going on these massive grocery shopping sprees and would fill the fridge to the point where you had to physically push the fridge door to get it to close. There was literally no space for Rachel or her roommates to put their food. It got so bad that one of Rachel's other roommates bought a personal mini fridge just to have somewhere to store her groceries. That was another major strike against the situation. Rachel didn't want to rant about every single thing that bothered her, but she mentioned two more significant issues. Emma's mom completely prevented Rachel from making a quick lunch during her 2-hour gap between classes by hogging the entire kitchen to make elaborate meals. Imagine wanting to make yourself something quick to eat, but you can't because all 4 stove burners are being used simultaneously for one person's cooking. This was a huge problem. Then there was the safety concern. Emma's mom would leave the main door propped open so she could get in and out, which made Rachel feel extremely unsafe. All of these factors combined, plus reading through the Reddit comments, made Rachel realize that she didn't have to deal with any of this. As much as she tried to tell herself it was okay, if she found herself constantly complaining about it, then it truly wasn't okay. Rachel didn't feel the need to talk to Emma about her mom because it couldn't have been more obvious that the mom was fully planning on staying for the entire semester. Plus, why should Rachel have to handle this when there's literally someone who gets paid to deal with these exact situations? So here's what Rachel did. She emailed and privately messaged the RA that weekend, explaining everything that was happening. The RA then forwarded the message to her supervisor. Rachel did this on a weekend and went home, hoping that when she came back, everything would be resolved. Unfortunately, when she returned, Emma's mom was still there. However, the very next day, when Rachel quickly went into the kitchen to grab something, she saw packed suitcases. The mom was finally leaving. Fast forward to December. Emma clearly had a massive chip on her shoulder toward Rachel and the other roommates. Rachel and one of the other roommates had gotten closer and talked more since all this happened. That roommate revealed something shocking. The RA had told her that all of them would have gotten in trouble because they were all technically breaking the rules by letting the mom stay there. So luckily, Rachel spoke up when she did. This other roommate confided that she had also been deeply uncomfortable with sharing a bathroom with Emma's mom, and that Emma's mom was apparently really messy in the bathroom. Emma never told anyone anything beforehand except on move-in day when she casually said, "Oh, by the way, my mom is here." And get this, Emma was actually planning on allowing her brother to sleep on the couch and have near-daily sleepovers. She was going to do that without anyone's permission too. Rachel ended her update by thanking everyone for the advice. She said it really gave her the confidence and justification she needed to reach out to the RA, and she wished everyone a Merry Christmas. Absolutely, Rachel did the right thing by reporting this situation. It was only going to get worse and more out of control. I mean, the brother was practically moving in as well. The absolute audacity of it all. I couldn't get over the part about all 4 burners going at the same time. I was like, what on earth is this woman making every single day? I just pictured Rachel coming back from a long day of studying, opening the door, and seeing some kind of medieval feast laid out on a banquet table with whole roasted chickens and everything. Ha ha ha. There were loads of comments below this update talking about boyfriends and girlfriends secretly moving into dorms, which we've definitely seen stories about before. It seems to happen more frequently than you'd think. But this is genuinely the first time I've ever seen a story about a mother moving into a college dorm. Holy moly, what a situation. So what do you guys think about all of this? Have you ever dealt with a nightmare roommate situation? Have you ever had to set boundaries with someone who just wouldn't respect your space? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge, heartfelt thank you for being here today, for getting involved in these stories, for your love, your support, and your time. It always means the absolute world to me. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Sending you all so much love.